Bury me standing, I ain't done yet. Boots in the mud where the sun don't set. I've carried this weight like a rusty chain, through fire and blood, through loss and pain. They told me to bow, but I clenched my jaw. I carved my name in the dust I saw. Bury me standing, not on my knees. A red wind blowing through the trees. Cut me down, but don't forget, you'll never kill what you ain't met. Bury me standing, my fight ain't through. I'll haunt these fields like the morning dew. I've seen concrete crawl where the cattle roam. Watch glass towers rise where the eagles home. Men in suits draw lines through maps, selling the soul of the heartland fast. But this dirt remembers every boot and it'll outlast their steel and suit. So I'll bury me standing, not on my knees. A real wind blowing through the trees. Cut me down, but don't forget, you'll never kill what you ain't met. Bury me standing, my fight ain't through. I'll haunt these fields like the morning dew. Yeah, chain me, break me, count me out. I'll rise up, pierce, I'll scream, I'll shout. Ashes fall, but the flame burns red. A man's not gone till his voice is dead. I ain't your pawn, I ain't your slave. I spit on the ground they try to pave. This country blood don't wash away. It stains the hands that try to stay. So plant me deep in this rugged land, with a steel guitar and a rebel band. Bury me standing, not on my knees. A rebel wind blowing through the trees. Cut me down, but don't forget, you'll never kill what you ain't met. Bury me standing, the fight goes on. My goal's to ride till the break of dawn. Bury me standing. Boy, don't you cry. Legends don't crawl. They learn to die. Bury me standing, don't lay me down. Plant me where fire once burned the ground. I'll be the echo that howls through the land, mean as the wind with a fist in its hand. Don't dress me in roses.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective, in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
You're mad. Mad at me because I don't trust you. Are you out of your mind? You lied. You betrayed. You manipulated. And now you've got the audacity to act like I'm the problem? I'm supposed to forget all that? Hand my trust back like some naive fool? No way. And here we go.
Welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
What is going on, Hive? I hope everybody's having a fantastic Monday, starting their week off strong. I just got to say that every time that I play that intro, it gets me feeling some type of way, fired up, because I feel that Joker quote through and through when it comes to this case, where it's like, you want me to just forget everything? You want me to just ignore these lies and move on like some naive fool? Not believe my own ears, not believe my own eyes, not trust my own instinct, not think with my own head. Let's just let Ashley Banfield and Koberger's Muffin Tops be our trusted source of information in this case. Yeah, we're going the right way, folks. Give me a break. And before I bring devil's advocates up, which I'm going to do so rather quickly this evening, I just got to say, I saw a handful of comments that said that I looked angry last night. I'm not mad at anybody specifically. I think my way of being passionate and really wanting the stream to go well when I've put a lot of hours into it comes across is defensive at times. It doesn't mean that I'm mad at anybody, but just given kind of experience that I've had putting out new theories, I'm not afraid to get attacked by a bunch of trolls, but I just want to be able to get through it at least. I just want to be able to say it and then have your way on it, right? So the live chats over on YouTube are a little bit different than TikTok, with comments coming in real time and how I can put them up on the screen, and the chats are much bigger over here, so they move quicker, but there's a lot more of them. And I want to address that. Like, I'm not angry. If anything, I'm pissed off for the truth. That's what I texted my mods afterwards. I'm like, I'm just pissed off because I'm ready for the overdue truth in the Idaho 4 case. Because when it comes to this crime, specifically the timeline, people act like it's stable, and it's not. People act like witnesses are stable and credible, but they're not. The first few hours after 4 murders, there's no confusion in the narrative. It's completely scripted so that you don't ask questions, in my humble opinion. And there are so many details that are buried that we just blow right by because we've been told something over and over and over again. And this evening's stream is going to be, pretty much, this is what happened pretty much at 4 a.m. And I'm not even shitting on Dylan. Promise you I'm not. I'm just, that statement can sum up this entire case. Like, pretty much, just believe us. And if you ask questions, we will shame you. So, anyways, I want to say what's up to everybody. I'm excited to be here this evening. I know DA is excited backstage to be here as well. What's up, 1-1 Daily Twin Flame, Sluther Dare, Linda's in the house, Crime Spy, Love and Other Habits, Kimberly, Cats Mojo, Donna, Philly Special, Sweet PB, UFO Dog. Shout out to one of my mods, Caleb, Germelia, Soul Warrior, Discord, Dawn. How are you doing? Shout out to one of my other mods. We got Teresa in the house, Catherine Bird, Shelly, Jules, Critic Rick, Steven, Heart of Gold, Brandon H, UK Karen, L Price, Aaron. What's up, Robin? Good to see you. Luna, shout out to my other mod as well. UK Kaylee says, you're just passionate, Birdie. That I am. Like I said, in my intro when I did the quick cut, like I really do. I give a shit about this a lot. Call it a passion, call it a hobby, call it whatever you want. I mean, I really don't want people to continue to get bamboozled by the news. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect all the time, but at least I can say that I have this trait of not taking everything at face value that I read or that I hear, and I'll look into it myself. K Wolf, Sherry, K Kaz, what up? What up? Brandon, Sherry Brock, Allie, what's going on? Scout and Jesse and Tinfoil Hat Claire, Redman, Lydia, Amanda B from West Virginia. It's going quick. Higgy, Pandora, Queen of Denial, Dusty Day, Jody, Cat, 914-2000. I hope I said that right. What's up, Sam? Rachel, who lives near the ice wall. Whitney. Her name is Rio. I already said what's up to Aaron. Trisha, what up? What up? Reasonable Doubter. Philly Eagles. Marty. Sally. And Shoe Girl. What is going on? What's up, Essie? Hope you're keeping Robin in check over there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead real quick before I bring up DA. If you guys have not hit that like button, please do. We got over 500 people in here already. It's going to be a great one tonight. I promise you. I was talking to DA on the phone and he said, just make it clear that we're going to go off the rails tonight. And I said, okay, DA, I will make it crystal clear. And so Hive, I hope you guys are ready to go off the rails tonight and critically think and think logically, think outside of the box, flex the muscle of whatever the tinfoil hat muscle is. But I'm excited for DA to be here, like I said. And before I bring him up, let me just quick plug this because yesterday we officially launched the Hive Mind store. HiveMindStore.com is now live. Dana, aka Shoe Girl, absolutely crushed it. All of the merch is actually art from our Discord. So topics that have come up in the stream or just Hive Mind artwork that people in our Discord have submitted. Shout out to Amanda B, Luna, UFO Dog, handful of others. That is live. That is ready to go. We ship internationally. Yesterday was the first day. We have so much stuff on there. I would find it hard to believe that if you are willing and wanting to help support this channel by going to HiveMindStore.com, if you don't see something you like, I'd be shocked. Yesterday, I had mentioned that we are doing a Cyber Monday giveaway. So every item that you buy as of yesterday through Cyber Monday, each item is an entry. We're going to announce a winner after Cyber Monday, right on Tuesday. However, if you don't win, that doesn't mean that if you want something, don't buy it, because we're going to continue a second giveaway for Christmas. And we're going to do that actually after the new year. So if you buy something from now through New Year's, you have a chance to win after Cyber Monday and after January 1. But HiveMindStore.com is now live. And now, without further ado, I should have thought of my intro a little bit better. I feel like it's like a UFC fighter intro where I got to get that like a deep voice that I got to yell into the microphone, like, and now coming from the depths of Twin Peaks in the cleavage Jafar. All right, here's DA. What's up, bro? Oh, you're muted. I got you.
Oh shit. You stepped on my microphone when I was doing my UFC impersonator, and it's time thing, you know.
Do it again.
I can't repeat that shit. I got performance anxiety. You should know that. You can't put me on the spot. I got performance anxiety.
Well, yeah, that's what you've told us. But nonetheless, dude, I'm always excited for Monday nights. You and I were talking earlier. I say, we're gonna go off the rails a little bit tonight. I do want to make that clear. The reason why I think DA and I chatted on the phone prior to tonight is because recently I've been talking a lot about this timeline delta, things like that. I wanted to make sure that he was even aware that I've been doing that, right? So there's a lot of stuff out there. Obviously, he's busy. He's putting out his own content. I wanted to be like, sure that you've at least seen this. And it sounds like from our phone conversation, at least you're familiar with it. And I think you brought up a great point, which is, well, why don't we just try to answer the question everybody has? Why? Why would they maybe do this? And I think that that's a happy medium. Theorizing on why.
Yeah, and that's what I was telling you. Like, some people have said that like I'm reluctant to go with you on certain conspiracy theories or whatever, or the things. And the only reason being is because I don't just ask, what if it happened this way, but I have to in my mind ask, why would it have happened that way? That's the second part. I always have to ask myself, okay, I can accept maybe it happened this way, but then I have to know why. What would be accomplished by that story? So that's where I always go when we get into what if it happened this way? My first thought is, okay, if it happened that way, why? What does it achieve? What is the end goal of that? So that's the reason why I like to do that.
Absolutely. And before we get into that, I know you loaded up your new website. I got that down on the bottom of the screen if you want to plug that.
Yeah, so I've been doing an overhaul of our website, devilsadvocates.info. It looks really, really slick. We've got, all of those tabs across the top for the 5 cases that I follow. They're on fire. They got flames coming off of them. It's a slick looking site. Each one of those has a timeline, an interactive timeline where I'm putting out 3 or 4 of my top theories, and you can and you can't see it there, but down below there's a table where you can basically sort it and say, I just want to look at theory 1 and theory 2. It's in process. I'm building it. I've got so much more information because I've been doing this for so long now. It seems like that there's way more information that's not on the table, but I'm working on building it. But I decided to start getting it out there now because it's beautiful. The site's beautiful and it's really functional. And I think it's going to be amazing when we get it rolling.
No, that looks great. That looks great. And you know what's always funny about these interactive timelines is you're going to have to update all of them regularly, especially when the case is ongoing. I think that's a great segue into tonight. And I'm going to start with a question to you. You and I have been talking about the Idaho 4 now. Our first stream was what? 5.5, 6 months ago, maybe 7.
Yeah, maybe.
Ish.
Yeah. Has it been that long? Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe whatever. 5 to 7, right?
Yeah.
Depending on when you want to count YouTube and TikTok. And one of the things that you and I have both bonded over on this case is this, like, the logical human reaction. I know you're going live with the Custody Queens tomorrow, right?
Yes and no. I'm recording with them tomorrow.
Okay.
It'll be premiered Wednesday morning before the holidays, and then I'll also replay that premiere after the holidays in America. By the way, as a side tangent, I don't want to ruin your stream of thought, but someone pointed out when I was talking about timing stuff around Thanksgiving, we have a really large, I think you're probably going to fall in the same boat, by the way, a large Australian audience. And I was wanting to know why. Like, I've noticed that a lot of people are like, hey, it's, here from the down under. And and I'm like, why do I feel like I have a disproportionate amount of Australian viewers. And I bet you're the same way. I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, why would I have a disproportionate amount of Australians? Did you know that Australians consume true crime content, especially cases involving police corruption and media bias, like 2 to 3 times more than Americans? They're obsessed with corruption stories, police corruption stories, and true crime that has a narrative shaping. And so it's kind of an Aussie thing. And that's why they're saying we hit really, really big in Australia, because they're more obsessed with true crime shit, especially when it involves police corruption, than even Americans. So I thought that was cool. So anyways, just interesting I did.
I will say I do see a lot of stories about Australia and the UK.
Yeah, right. We get a lot of UK too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Especially like people getting arrested for social media posts. I don't know what it is. Like, that's all over my feed. So I hope you guys are staying safe if you're in Australia and the UK. Thank you for tuning in. It's always awesome to see.
Yeah, and New Zealand, right? New Zealand as well. Yeah, both of those, both Australia and New Zealand, big on the true crime stuff.
Scotland, I love that. Yeah, we got people all over the place. It's great. That is interesting.
And I side tangent. I derailed you. You were talking about something else entirely when I derailed. Oh, we were talking about the Custody Queens. I just wanted to clarify that real quick. So, I know you had the Custody Queens on, and I know the Custody Queens is coming on your show again. Custody Queens kind of reached out to me, and where they were talking about watching that footage that I shared with you when on my trip with Joe to Moscow, Idaho. By the way, I have brand new footage that I'm going to air with the Custody Queens. I wanted to give them something special, like, hey, I'm going to air something with you guys that nobody's seen before. So that's a teaser. If you're interested interested, I'm gonna premiere some daylight footage I think is outstanding, and I thought I'd give it to have a chance for the custody queens to be able to see something special or whatever. So we're gonna pre-record that show tomorrow, and then I'm gonna tease a clip from it tomorrow night's live, so you can see a preview of it, and then I'll premiere that whole session with me and the custody queens on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
No, that's gonna be awesome. I do know what the footage is from our phone call, and I won't spoil it. It's crazy.
It's badass.
It is badass, and it's just like the universe working in such a way, you know. And then Wednesday, I do have, so DA will be doing that in the morning. Wednesday evening, I have the custody queens and an appellate attorney, Ron, coming into the Hive, and I'm excited for that. Very much so. Like, it's always different when you talk to people that are in this field, you know. It's interesting to me, like in the actual attorney field, when they're starting to ask questions, my only disconnect is like, because I'm not a lawyer, it's hard for me to think about the law in it. And I'm like, so what is legal? What's illegal? What's corruption? What's just like hearsay? You ever feel like that or no?
Well, here's the thing, like I feel like you and I are really blessed right now because I've always dug into the legal documents. I like reading the legal documents. It hasn't been so much your thing, but you know what? I feel like we're really blessed because both of us now are getting attorneys who are willing to come on a YouTuber's channel, right? And not be ashamed to be with a YouTuber talking about the law and how the law applies. And I think it's freaking outstanding. It's nothing but cool to see people who are experienced in the law to be able to just treat you like, you know, like an everyday person and say, yeah, you're right about this, or, you know, here's how I can lend some more credence to what you're saying. It's amazing what we've got going on. I think it's a super blessing that more and more attorneys are coming on both of our shows and talking about things.
Well, I agree. And at the end of the day, you want to think that attorneys want to get to the truth of the matter, right?
Yeah, right.
One of the things that I believe it was Outcast, or I forget who was on my stream, that they had mentioned, they said, when it comes to like prosecutors and DAs, are they after the truth? And again, this is a great segue back to what I was about to say to you with what we bonded over, which is like, there's this pretty narrative. And I say pretty because if you've only watched Dateline or Amazon, or if if you really just believe everything that you hear without looking into it, the Idaho 4 case, it's shut, it's closed. He pleaded guilty. Shut up, move on, stop disrespecting people. Right.
Right.
But when you think about it, that is a DA's goal. Whether or not they plea, whether or not they get a conviction, I would argue they would rather have somebody plea and then get out after the fact, because for the time being, it's still a win.
Right. Right. And the appeal and overturn won't really go against their record. Yeah. You know, it's funny because I don't know, here I'm talking about how we're blessed to have attorneys on, and I don't know they would love me to say this. Some attorneys that I've had on have agreed with me and some don't agree with me, but I'm going to say it the way I always say it, which may not make every attorney excited. In reality, in my view of the legal system is this: neither the prosecution or the defense really cares what actually happened. Their job as a prosecutor is to get a conviction, and the job of the defense is to get an acquittal or get some kind of really good deal for their guy. And yes, they're not going to lie. I'm not saying anybody's lying, but the point being is that their job is to get that conviction or that acquittal. It's the jury's job. It's the jury's job to get to what happened actually, right? And so, and the reason I'm hitting that is because when you get into the legal aspect of it, you've got lawyers that are fighting to not get certain pieces of information in there that I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, the public might want to know that detail. But if it was a legal loophole, or you're not allowed to talk about it because of this, they'll fight tooth and nail to not allow it in or to allow it in. And what the jury actually sees isn't necessarily the whole truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth. And yet the jury is the one who ultimately has to decide which one of the two extreme sides, the defense and the prosecution, is telling the truth and make a ruling on it. But we're not really given all the details. In a court of law, it's very controlled, and you're only seeing the parts that were allowed to get in and not allowed to. It's really, we have some problems, I think, in our legal system philosophically in that regards, I think. But
I don't think that you're crazy for saying that. I think we absolutely do, because statistically, take Brian Koberger out of it. I know that I've referenced his papers mentioning this stat, but let's just talk about that stat existed before we saw Brian Koberger's paper about 90 to 95% of cases, they don't go to trial. They settle
Yeah.
a plea deal.
Yeah.
That essentially strips away everything that you just said should happen. Where a jury hears it, the public hears it. Right?
You know, a classic example, I don't want to side tangent too far, but this is what we do when we get together. I was talking to I think it was one who's a friend of your channel and a friend of mine, and I was talking to him, and we were bringing up Hitler calling Cy Ray a conspiracy theorist, right? Hitler is the guy that wrote the book on timing advanced records. He's the expert. He wrote the software, and yet Hitler calls him a conspiracy theorist and doesn't think his testimony is relevant. And as one said to me, and it was spot on, that's not Hitler's job to decide if he's credible or not. That should be the jury's job to decide if he's credible or not. How it is that he was allowed to dismiss that guy and laugh him off the stage and say, we don't need to hear from this guy, that's not Hitler's job. To me, that was an overstep of that thing, because that should have been something the jury got a chance to hear and decide whether in. Anyways, a rant over. I just it irritates the piss out of me.
Yeah, people like hearing you rant. And I think what's interesting too, like Sherlock said, Brian Koberger never got a preliminary hearing, and he wasn't allowed to attend his own indictment hearing. Yet, if, again, in this case, we have to look at things that we want to be a fact speculatively, and we have to look at things that we think are a lie that maybe are truthful, right? So I say that with what Sherlock just said, and how Steve G, if those leaked texts, if those are real, with the TikTok creator Brett Norton, about how Dylan in the grand jury indictment, there was a text that said, I quote, I think somebody just killed them, and that she created more questions than answers. Dude, just like the Olivia, Christy, and Steve sitting on the couch saying that somebody went and shot the party up. Why is this not being talked about at all, ever? Not one time.
Well, that goes to exactly what I said. Let's say those text messages were real. The fact that a jury wouldn't get to see them is one of those, it's a legal battle, right? Because the prosecution is going to be like, no way in hell do we want those text messages to get seen by a jury, because it might question what actually happened. And so if they can find a reason to exclude the text message and say, no, you can't do that, here's a legal technicality why you can't show those, then the jury would never see it. And would a jury make a different decision? Again, this is not going to trial because we have a guilty plea in the case. But the point being is that that's the kind of stuff that they fight to not have a jury see. And yet, if a jury had seen those text messages, if they were real, so that's the thing, if they were real, then that would make a huge difference on people's opinions about what happened.
But
so
I guess, okay. I'm an opinionated person, but I'm not too hard-headed to listen to others. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are people that are opinionated and then they can't listen to others. I like to think that I can do both. Like, I can be very passionate about my opinion, but I can then shut the hell up and I can listen to somebody. Right?
Yeah. Right.
That, what you just said, and dude, I don't know if there's an echo. Sorry for this. I don't know if there's an echo from your earbuds. You might have them up too loud. I can hear a little bit of reverb.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
What you just said, though, is like, well, is it true? Is it not true? The fact that we don't know, maybe the fact that it's not brought up, the fact that a documentary or a docuseries doesn't talk about it, and people want to brush it off like, well, that must be the answer. It's not true, because they would have talked about it. But yet they've spewed so much other stuff. And what my goal is in tonight's stream, I'm going to bring up what I believe is this little tiny detail that screams something's wrong on the most granular level of Dylan's statement that I don't know if other people haven't picked up on, but we'll talk about it here in a second. Why is it that there are some things that we say, well, that's right? And that could be court docs, and that might also get people a little bit riled up, but that could be witness statements, that could be audio, that could be surveillance footage. And in my genuine opinion. Do you want to know what I think would be the easiest to manipulate with national security involved, with a sweeping gag order, with all the redactions where we can't even see Jack Showalter's name and we all know what it is? We can't even see their faces on body cam footage and we know who it is. The easiest out of all of that to manipulate would be what's written in black and white on paper. Because it's written after the fact. And then you look at Ann Taylor talking about the audio and the video, saying that these were clips that had to be like stitched together. The audio, the video, all that. So how are we going to say that some of the audio and the video is manipulated and not all of it is?
Right.
How are we going to say that this part of this statement in a witness testimony makes sense, but this is a lie? And I get it. That's like what we want to do. People, you have to go through and you have to make your own guess. But when it applies to every single aspect about this case, video, audio, surveillance footage, witness testimonies, court documents being redacted. You just brought up Cy Ray and Judge Hippler. We have to maybe for a second pause and step back and think to ourselves, why are they doing that for every single thing? Which I would say many, quote, airtight cases in the past, there's only like one of those that needs to get exposed to break the entire case open and prove the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't, and you know, along that lines, I can't tell you the number of cases that when you first hear it, you think it's an airtight case. You wonder why they're even going to trial. And then you get the trial and you find out there's all kinds of shit you didn't know about that case, which is why we have trials, because we convict people in this country in the court of public opinion. So you tell everybody what happened and they immediately think they now know what happened. Confirmation bias kicks in. And then every detail from you hear from then on out goes, oh, that supports what I already believe to be true. So that must be true. Again, somebody comes along saying, but this detail is not true. Well, that doesn't support what I already believe happened. So that can't be true. Once they've established the narrative, you become brainwashed and confirmation bias kicks in.
Before we get into the topic, because what you just said is so important. Like, what would a real life example be of where there's this confirmation bias that everybody has based on what they see written, what they think they hear, what they think they saw, and then this bombshell comes out of the blue with a witness that's never testified, with a piece of evidence that's not been tested, whatever it may be, and it blows the case open. And whether or not we come up with a specific case off the top of our head, we know that has happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to find a good example of one, but yeah, I know there's got to be. Scott Peterson, somebody was saying, yeah.
I think that one's going to be crazy. I think that's going to blow people's minds. I don't know if he's going to get off. I just think we're going to see stuff that's like, whoa, that was going on.
Right.
Or whoa,
or the things that you weren't allowed to hear about.
Yeah. Okay. So tonight, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about Dylan and this, what would you say? A very specific, yet the most broad and confused interview of all time that raised no red flags to any person questioning her. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, I will caveat that a little bit, right? I would say there's a difference between Moscow police's interviews of Dylan and Idaho State Police. I don't think Idaho State Police had the same blinders or whatever the hell was going on with Moscow Police Department. I think they were asking different questions. They did. I don't think Idaho bought Dylan's story. Moscow police just seems to be like, hey, don't worry about it. You're not going to be in trouble. Just tell us you saw a balaclava, you saw bushy eyebrows, you'll be good. You say that, you're fine. And then Idaho State Police comes in and they're like, is there something you're not telling us? Like, why would the killer just leave you alone? Like, they're asking the questions Moscow Police Department should have asked, in my opinion, at a lot of points. But
okay, so let's theorize. Okay, let's theorize with the chat, with the Hive, with the Den. And here's my question. Tonight, I want to talk about all the things that's not written in black and white. Okay? So I understand if you tune into Devil's Advocates, he doesn't typically do this. But like I said, we talked. He said, we're going to go off the rails tonight. Make sure you make it clear. So this is my disclaimer on behalf of Devil's Advocates. This is a Contrarian Thinking live stream. We think past the headlines, past the court documents. If you're easily rattled, if you're offended, you're not going to like this. Okay. So let's think past things that are written in court documents, because those court documents are very, very easy to poke holes in for, if nonetheless, reasonable doubt that Brian Koberger, whether it be police reports, ISP reports, court documents, whatever it is, DNA testing, it doesn't make any sense. The plea deal makes no sense. So we've established that. I believe if you've looked into it, you'll agree with that. Now, what I'd like to talk about are things that are not just rumors, things that are on camera, that are documented with people that are close to the case. So that could be witness statements. That could be other interviews, like with Christy and Steve and Olivia on the couch saying that someone shot the party up. You could talk about how Stacy Chapin is talking about how 2 a.m. is a dark hour for them. Right? Now, whether or not times are manipulated, let's try to forget about the timestamps when I say this. Right? I know you can do that, DA. I know a lot of people not in the chat can. But if somebody is saying 2 a.m. is a dark hour, what would you think that would mean when it's a victim's mother? You'd probably think that it happened around 2 a.m.
That's when it
and
happened.
Not 4 a.m.
Right.
I mean, is that illogical to think?
No. I mean, it has to be significant somehow, the timing, if you're going to say it was a dark hour, I mean, so why is it? Yeah.
Okay.
It's a logical step.
Okay. So one of the victim's mother is saying that 2 a.m. is a dark hour. Another family is sitting on a couch saying that their niece called them and said the party was shot up and that Kaylee was shot.
Right. That one blew my ass away when I heard that.
So now we have two mothers. One is saying 2 a.m.
Yeah.
The other is saying that they were shot. And we just let that go? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, that's mind-blowing.
It is.
Now,
and so that's why you say, well, okay, let's step back for a second. Let's run with that. Is it possible that someone was shot? Or is it just possible that they were told that? Either way, you have to ask why. Who told them that the place was shot up? Why did they say it was shot up? Who told that person that it was shot up? Like, where did that rumor come from? Because it obviously it got into the narrative somehow that the house was shot up. So who said that? How did it get to the Gonzalez family? So it makes you wonder.
And if it was their,
why was it said?
Why was it said? And if it was their niece, how did their niece find out? Right?
Yeah. Right.
How did she hear it? Well, and then you start to think about, okay, we don't address any of that. Those are just rumors. In addition to what I just said, the G family said about there being a shooting, they said they shot a party up. Someone came and shot a party up. Not shot them as they got out of their car ride home from the grub truck by themselves. So we have 2 a.m. is a dark hour. We have shooting, we have party, and we have a lack of detail on Ethan and Xana. I just feel like that's so weird to me.
Yeah.
And I get it. People are going to say, Birdie, read the court documents. Okay. I might not be the expert on court documents, but I've read them. I've watched stuff. I've shown them on my own stream. And it's rather obvious that, yes, They are saying this happened between 4 and 4:25 in the morning. I get that. But that is a single press of a button on a keyboard to change all of that. To get a mother to say 2 a.m. when it's not, to get a mother to say that they were stabbed instead of shot, to get somebody to say that it was their niece and lie on their own family member that called them. To me, that seems way harder to get people to manipulate than somebody pressing a keyboard button of a 4 instead of a 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope that makes sense where I'm going with this. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, if you were going to say something, go for it.
No. Go ahead.
So now, and I'm doing my best to not talk about Linda Lane and manipulated audio because I get it. Everyone's got their opinion on that. Okay. Now I want to talk about what Dylan said. Dylan, in the same breath, is saying she was woken up out of her sleep by saying she heard Kaylee, someone's in the house, ran down the stairs, and then it stopped. And then in addition to that, she was dancing with the dog, listening to music. I think she was singing. I saw her walk up the stairs, and it wasn't really talking. It wasn't yelling. And then she turned around and she ran down. And then I'm pretty sure Murphy went out the side door. When did you open your door, Dylan?
Yeah.
Were you watching the entire thing? Why is Kaylee dancing and singing with a dog by herself at 4 a.m? Has anybody asked that question? I'm not saying that it's like some sort of impossibility that there's not somebody who's, a drunk college kid dancing with their dog in the living room, singing and playing music, but like to go in, to get your dog, to turn on your Bluetooth speaker, to be singing. I don't know. To me, that's like a lot of, it's a process. And it's also like, if everybody else is asleep, apparently, and then you're singing, dancing, and playing with the dog, that doesn't make any sense. What does that sound like is actually going on, DA? That actually sounds like, if you go back to what Chrissy said, somebody shot a party up, and maybe Dylan did see that. What do you do at a party? Well, there's music going. Is it unreasonable that Murphy wouldn't be out at a party? Is it unreasonable that you wouldn't be singing along to a song? And is it unreasonable in a party that maybe you wouldn't see your roommate walk up the stairs? And if somebody was upstairs through a sliding glass door, you wouldn't say, someone's here, and then sprint down the stairs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No.
I'm going to pause there. I'm going to let's give your thoughts, because I get it. The whole devil's advocate thing. But in a way, what I just said is a devil's advocate's take on how the time that they're saying this happened, it can, in the same breath, not be relevant at all.
Right. If I were playing devil's advocates and it didn't happen the way that Dylan said it happened, but Dylan saw things and she does know what happened, it almost feels like she's just not really good at keeping her facts straight. So they're interviewing her. She knows she saw something different than what really is being said. This was the devil's advocate's position, they want her to tell a different story, but she's making it up as she goes, and she doesn't keep her facts straight. So it changes and little details change. And then somebody comes along and goes, well, that makes no sense. So then it changes a little bit again, because it's a made up story. And it's like, and she's not really terribly good at it. And maybe that puts a lot of pressure. If that's happening, maybe that puts a lot of pressure on her. Like, oh my God, like people are treating me like shit because I can't keep the story straight, but it's a fake story in the first place. I'm being told to tell a fake story. You could say that that's what's happening, that she's being told to tell a fake story. And then she's getting beat up because people don't like her story because it's full of shit, because she's not a good storyteller.
Right. And then my question to you is, ISP, MPD, FBI, maybe Homeland Security, nobody says enough's enough, Dylan.
Yeah. No. I'm telling you, it goes back to the thing I just said.
You wouldn't even let your daughter lie to you about sneaking out that much.
You don't ask questions you already know the answer to. That is my only explanation for why they didn't follow up with Dylan on basic interrogation questions 101. I'm not even an interrogator. I'm not trained in interrogation, but I've seen enough police interrogations that I cannot believe the questions they didn't ask Dylan. And I have to ask myself, why? Why don't they ask Dylan the follow-up questions? You don't ask questions you already know the answer to. It would be the answer, why? You don't have to ask her because you already know what happened. So that's the devil's.
How do you know what already happened then?
Because I wonder if they know it didn't happen the way that they're telling the media, that they're telling everyone in America. They know it didn't happen that way. And so they're just, I don't, again, in the devil's advocate's position, it happened a different way. They know it didn't happen the way that everybody thinks it happened. And they didn't think that we'd all get obsessed about this case and question every little fucking detail. They're not used to, this is my argument. They're not used to YouTubers picking the shit out of things and questioning every damn thing they say. They thought it would be an easy sell. They would just have this person say, hey, I saw this. Everybody would mourn. We'd put a guy away, end of story. And then damn YouTubers come up there and like, well, what the fuck with this? This doesn't make sense. Why didn't you ask that question? And now they're scrambling. If that's what happened, now they're scrambling like shit. Like, how do we answer that? Oh, we'll just change this. We'll just change that to fit the timeline, to make the narrative fit, because we've already committed to this is what happened.
I agree with that. I agree with that if it comes to like the ISP and the MPD, but how many other agencies that are national are involved in this?
Right.
Like, you don't think the FBI is used to people on the internet digging into their theories?
Yeah.
But then again, we haven't also heard from the FBI, really.
Right.
So that's interesting.
They've been in a weird back position. So let me pull that thread a little bit. The FBI has been co-located with Moscow police since the beginning of this investigation, and yet never made it a federal case. I've told you that I think that's suspicious in the first place. If Kohberger is the killer and Kohberger crossed state lines from Washington state into Idaho, that would make it a federal case. Crossing state lines automatically gives them jurisdiction. Yet the FBI is not the one prosecuting the case. It never became a federal case. Why? Because yet they're embedded with Moscow police, telling them every step of the way, do some real police work, because we're giving you a tip, wink, wink, nod, nod, it's Brian Kohberger, but do some real police work and tie Kohberger to the case, because they don't want to prosecute the case. The federal government doesn't want to prosecute it. So it makes you wonder what's going on. If the feds were there for day one, but they don't want to prosecute the case. Again, part of the argument is the feds don't prosecute cases they don't think they can win. They only prosecute cases they know they can win. So is one answer of why the feds didn't prosecute it is because they knew there was problems and they didn't want to prosecute something that could possibly make them look bad because they won't get a conviction? Or is something else going on and they had to do, and this is my theory more, they did some illegal shit. This is what I believe happened. The FBI did illegal shit to get Kohberger, and they don't want to have to prove it. So they asked Moscow Police Department to do some quote unquote real police work and find a way to tie Kohberger to the crime scene other than the illegal shit they did. And at the end of the day, what did Bill Thompson say? We can't place Brian Kohberger in the house. We can't place him near, we can only place him near the house. We don't have any, like, at the end of the day, they had dick. And it's like the FBI said, do some real police work. Don't make us have to show receipts. And when it got down to the point, I'm going to try to end my fucking rant. When it got down to the point that they were going to go to trial and they still couldn't prove Kohberger was in the house, they had to take a plea deal because the federal government doesn't want to admit they did illegal shit to get Brian Kohberger. So they were pressuring to get a plea deal so it never go to trial and have to show the illegal things they were done to get Kohberger. That's kind of
no, I think you're right too, because they broke their own guidelines with IGG.
Right.
Like that is illegal. They can't do
more.
That.
Yeah, and it's more than that, I think, too.
And so to your point, okay, I really want to address what you said about they did not expect it to get this big and as much attention as it has, right? To me, that seems like a very local news story, grassroots story, that there's somebody that is determined in the family or in the town that didn't give up, and it got the attention of people on social media and it blew up, and then the mainstream news covered it. But this had the FBI involved from day one. This, do you know what I mean? And it was on the news from day one.
And
it's a little bit different.
Let me pull another thread. Payne, right? Detective Payne, or Corporal Payne was put in charge of the investigation. Many people question why was Payne picked to be in charge. What I know this sounds crazy, but this is the day we're going off the rails a little bit, right? So if the FBI, let's follow this law, if the FBI had something going on, a multi-jurisdictional drug task force investigation, for example, with national security implications going on. And if it had national security involved, it's classified. If the FBI has classified information, they can't just talk to anybody about it. But guess what? Payne is a former paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne. He's had a top secret security clearance before. I guarantee you, as a paratrooper, he's had top secret security clearance before. It would be easy to clear Payne to have top secret clearance. And now you have Payne, who's in lead of the investigation, who can have top secret clearance approved very quickly, and embedded with the FBI, who have top secret clearance, to say, look, this is a federal top secret national security situation. We need to get control of this situation. And so in that logic, you would have then the lead of the investigation for the Moscow Police Department handling things for the feds to make sure that the Fed story stays intact and that the classified information doesn't get out. I know it sounds nuts. It sounds crazy. I need to put a tinfoil hat on for that shit. But
well, I am curious, like, is it, I'm not being mean when I say this because I don't know either, but is like security clearance like a Costco membership? Like once you have it, as long as you stay up to date to it, do you get to keep it? I don't think so.
No, it's not. It's not. But because I used to have a clearance, and it's a major process. But I will tell you this: people who have had a previous clearance get fast tracked through the clearance system. So let's say Payne was in the military and he had a clearance. He's already been fingerprinted 9 ways to Sundays. The government knows everything about him his entire life because he had to get that to get the clearance in the first place. That's a lot of work they don't have to redo for him. So and I've seen people before in the intelligence community that have come on who they say, look, I've got prior history in intelligence or with a security clearance, and they're fast tracked because a lot of the back work has already been done. They already have receipts. So yes, it's not a once you have a clearance, you have it for life kind of thing. And that's not what I'm alleging. I'm alleging that if he had a clearance before, he can be fast tracked to get his clearance reinstated.
Let me switch gears a little bit, because I know you said like, oh, I need a tinfoil hat for that and whatever. I get it. I think you and I could both agree that is a complex situation. Everything that we just said is rather complex. Different agencies involved, not expecting this to happen. So they do, X, Y, and Z, and then the public's doing A, B, and C, and then it gets into this cluster. Okay. So let's back up. And it's been a long time since I've asked this, but I'm curious, especially around Dylan's testimony or not testimony. I'm sorry. Dylan's statements, written or verbal. What is the simplest, and I'm not being facetious, and I'm asking the Hive this too, and the Den. What's the simplest answer for why she'd be able to say the stuff she is and not be questioned extremely hard or called out for any contradictions? And I'm curious, like, what is the simplest answer? I don't know. Is it like part of me in my head goes, she's got immunity, or she's
right
talking. I don't know.
Well, again,
yeah,
playing devil's advocates. This is the thing. I think I've asked you this once before, and I told you you don't need to answer. It's a rhetorical question. But what if it really was a federal investigation? What if they were really watching drugs in the area? What if they know something happened that has national security implications, drugs that are running across the border, for example, into Moscow, Idaho, and they're looking to catch a much bigger fish? Would it be impossible to say, we need to keep this investigation intact and not blow our confidential informants and all this stuff that we've been working on for decades because of something that happened? So we're just going to tell Dylan, look, you need to say certain things. You're okay. You're not going to be in trouble. Just say this. We've got your back. Maybe they even tell her it's never going to go to trial. You don't need to worry about it. This is never going to go to trial. Can you get somebody to play along with it? Because again, what if it has national security implications and they just literally say, look, all you need to do is just say certain things and lay low, shut your mouth, and we'll take care of the rest. I don't know.
Well, and dude, this is where there is the reality of this like spider web of verbiage used in the Idaho 4. You have the sweeping gag orders. You have Josh Hurwitz. You have national security. You have what we're watching with Dylan and Bethany play out with this, eyewitness testimony. So I would understand it if this is one witness to a crime that has involvement and they're playing dumb. But this long after the fact, with a defense attorney, with somebody being threatened and their life on the line for a death penalty case, with the FBI, with all this other stuff involved, to me, I would find it hard to believe that just being connected to a powerful family, and this is my opinion. I'm not saying this in every case isn't, or I'm not saying this hasn't happened in other cases, so don't get mad at me. I'm just saying, given that there's 2 survivors and then the other survivors fighting the subpoena to come back and testify is weird. And that she's okay. I'm going to pause. I'm stumbling over my words because I have so much going through my head right now. In addition, what is one thing that both Dylan and Bethany did during their interviews? I believe that Jenna also did this in their interview. What is something that at least 2 of them do, if not all 3 of them do, when asked specific questions about their whereabouts or their timeline? What did they all 3 do? And if you don't want to answer it, we'll let somebody in the chat say it. But what do you think? See who gets it first. Because, and I bet somebody's going to get it right away. Yeah, check the phones.
I will tell you this. I have always felt that Bethany saw something that contradicts what Dylan saw, and Bethany is either terrified of Dylan or Dylan and her group or whatever, and that's why she ran the state, and that's why she doesn't want to come back, and that's why she doesn't want to testify, and that's why Ann Taylor says Bethany has exculpatory information, because Bethany knows it didn't happen the way Dylan's saying. Dylan's doing the controlled narrative. Bethany knows it's not that way, and people want to touch Bethany, and she's being protected. You don't have to go back to the state. Don't worry. Nobody's going to arrest you. Do we see Bethany and I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Do we see Bethany and Dylan reunited since this happened and being buddies and embracing each other as 2 survivors of this thing? Or are they like separated and Bethany wants nothing to do with Dylan and won't even get near her kind of thing? Like, I don't know.
Correct. We haven't. And Bethany lawyered up fast as hell. Now, I have a theory on, again, this is my theory on what the exculpatory evidence is. It's very simple. Who is the eyewitness? Right? Dylan. What if Bethany knows Dylan left? That's exculpatory, right? Because everything that Dylan just said doesn't matter. Well, and do we even know that Dylan actually went into Bethany's room? I thought Bethany's room was locked. They've only called each other. We have no confirmation that they actually went into each other's room. She just said, run down here. It's better to be with me or whatever than be alone. And then Dylan saying, I'm screwed though, or scared though, then calls Ethan.
And I know, and we should. I know you want to get into that a little bit more because I remember kind of the theory you have about was Dylan even there. But I do want to say this, going back to your earlier statement. If Steve Gonzalez's text messages to Brat Norton are real, and I tend to believe those are real text messages, that was a real string. If it was real, he stated Bethany saw someone changing clothes in the kitchen, putting their clothes into a garbage bag. And I've said from day one, Bethany saw somebody, and the problem is the reason why they don't want her to testify because she didn't see Koberger. Sorry, she didn't see Koberger. Look at that slip, Freudian slip. She didn't see Koberger. That's the problem. Bethany saw somebody in the kitchen, so maybe there is another eyewitness, and she doesn't want to be put on the stand to say she saw someone because Ann Taylor has not forgotten that, and Ann Taylor will put her on the stand and say, Bethany, did you see anybody that night? Did you come out of your room? Did you see something? And now she has to, perjure herself on the stand and lie about it if Van Taylor can prove it, she's fucked. So did she see something? And that's the problem, is they know who she saw doesn't match the description of Koberger, and that screws the whole thing.
Well, and again, this is where I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe I don't do a good job speaking it into the mic, but in my head, I can wrap my thought process around that Bethany being in her room and Dylan being in her room is complete bullshit.
Right. Because like I think that you would say, why? We've all asked this. Why the fuck are both these girls texting everyone in the house and call instead of just getting out of your room and walking there? Go next fucking door. Open your door and go other. Like, why would you text and call them? Hey, are you okay? Like, you're in the house, right? Right? You're in the house. So why don't you just open your door and go over there? Like, what makes sense? Calling and texting everybody and say, well, they're not answering. I don't understand. Open your, if you're, like you said, if you were there, maybe that's why people say, are they even there? Because it makes no sense. Why wouldn't you just open your door and walk over there and see what's going on?
Right. And Namastella brought up a great point to the opposite of my point. What if Bethany's exculpatory evidence isn't that Dylan wasn't even there and she left? What if it's that Bethany's like, well, I wasn't even there. So why is Dylan saying that she ran to my room? So it's the same thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's a perfect example of Bethany's shutting her mouth because maybe she wasn't there and she doesn't want to have to admit that she wasn't there.
But like, dude, help me understand this. That is so simple. That is so simple to prove. You have one eyewitness saying a roommate was there. You have the other roommate saying, I wasn't there. To say that that is not a normal circumstance in a court of law where then you have to prove who was actually there, who was not there, with all the bank statements, with all the security footage, with everything else that we know they have. Come on. They would know that shit like the back of their hand before trial.
Yeah.
And I don't get that. I don't get it at all. I don't get how, even if the timeline is real, why do you frame Brian Koberger? And you could say, well, they're covering for powerful people. Maybe. Or they're covering up for powerful people. But my gut tells me the most logical reason is like the crime and the narrative surrounding the crime is so different in real life than what we've been told that it's confusing all of us because we can't understand a quadruple homicide like this going this way with this much attention. Like, it would have to be so different, in my opinion. It'd have to be so different than anything that we're reading. And it's like, I don't know why my brain, I get it. It's a stretch. But to say that it can't happen and to say that Brian Koberger is guilty because he said so himself in a plea deal that we know people plea out all the time. But when he says this 10 minutes beforehand in back-to-back hearings, the prosecutor is saying he can't put him in the house.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's not just bad. It's not just a bad defense attorney. It's like,
right,
this is a bad story. If this was pitched, people are going to get pissed at me for this. I almost just spoke before thinking. If this real life case got pitched to Netflix for a TV show,
they'd say it's not believable.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, you need to write a better script. It's not believable.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Wait, you're saying it's a guy who's never been in the house? He never stalked them? He doesn't have any connection to them or their family members? Nothing on social media? His DNA was found how long after the fact? You guys were tracking him for months? Like, hey, God. Like, what?
Yeah.
How does that plot make sense with this? I don't know. It seems like a crime of passion to me.
Right. That's what I've said from very early on as well. But
so, like, getting back to Dylan saying that, Dylan says all of these details. Kaylee is dancing with the dog, gets to the top of the stairs, doesn't yell, it's kind of talking, and then runs down the stairs and it stops. And I don't really know how. I mean, pretty much like I think like just going off like the sound of like her at the top of the stairs and like all this stuff. It's like, okay, guys, come on. In addition to timelines potentially being manipulated, as I was bringing up about 5 minutes ago, DA, before we got a little sidetracked, all of these girls look at their phone specifically for timelines.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
It is.
It's just wild to me. Like it's
And
again,
I've also been bothered. I have to go back and look at the streets. I've also been bothered that when Dylan is looking at her phone for timelines, she's confused on whether the timeline's right.
Yes!
Because I'm not sure it's Boise time or Moscow time. Well, which state are you in? Which city are you in? Like you know what I'm saying? Because that's a big problem. Like your phone is going to pick up the local time off the cell tower. You shouldn't have a question. Now, granted, here's where I logicked it through. If Dylan was in so people don't necessarily don't know this, but Moscow, Idaho, and Boise are in two different time zones. I think it's Mountain Standard Time for Boise, Idaho, whereas the rest is in a different time zone, Pacific Standard Time zone. And it's really weird. Same state, but there's a different time zone change. So if Dylan's from Boise, Idaho, and if one of her interviews took place in Boise, Idaho, I'm playing devil's advocate to my own thing. And if when they're in Boise, Idaho, they're asking her to recall things and she looks at her phone, she might be able to say, oh, I don't know if this is local Boise time or the actual time in Moscow at the time, because the phone has changed all the timestamps on her phone. You see what I'm saying? Because it would be different time zones. But that also could be key to what's going on here is who was in what place. Were they in Boise or were they in Moscow when things happened and they're reporting times? So,
or is that just a cover?
Right.
You guys have to give these people some credit that are going to run a cover up. Like, I hate to say it, the people that put together cover ups or operations, they're not dumb. You know what I mean? They might end up looking dumb when their plot gets exposed, but
yeah,
think of even like, let's say this comes out as a cover up for the university. Let's say this comes out as a cover up for frats or whatever crazy theory that we all have. Because at the end of the day, they're all crazy theories, right? Nobody knows the truth. And if you think that you know the truth, I believe that you know the truth that they want you to know. I still don't believe that it's the actual truth.
Right. Right.
Like none of us actually know. And I forget where I was going with that. What was I just saying about how, if they pulled it off to this point, think of how impressive that is.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are capable of doing that? Timestamp manipulation, audio manipulation, family interviews. You get the judge to call Cyray a conspiracy theorist. You get Scott Green to go and get the house back and tear it down and get an NDA signed. You can't know where it's buried. You don't get to see the house at trial. No jury walks through it. Everything's redacted. Give you 95% of all of the CastNet data is redacted. Cyray doesn't get to see. The FBI's there, maybe the marshals. Dylan says Homeland Security. Nothing adds up in any of the stuff that we can hear with our own ears or see with our own eyes. We can read documents after the fact. How long did it take for them to put out 1112 camera footage? Why? Why did it take that long? Why did it take that long? You know what I mean?
Why is it? Yeah. Dude, there's so many whys. Why is it for nearly 3 years, all we've seen is grainy footage of the supposed suspect vehicle 1 coming and going from various times. And then just before we're going to seat the jury, Dateline comes out with never seen before footage where it's crystal clear, like fucking crystal clear, razor sharp image. And I'm like, why have we not seen that for fucking 3 years? Like, why is this coming out now just before you're about to seat the jury? Like, if they've had this information, why the hell has it been suppressed and hidden all this time? And why did it come out at the last minute? And
Dateline. Why did Dateline get it? Just like Amazon. Right. What are the chances that Amazon doesn't have to move back their special or their series and Kohberger please out 2 days before it's set to release for Amazon?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. as Ann Taylor's talking about leaks.
Fucking sense.
I
Yeah.
mean, so again, let's think on the most simple level. What is the simplest level of, and I like a hypothesis for this case? What is it? Because I got two that pop into my head, but I don't want to say them before you say yours. Like on the
You mean what happened?
Yeah, like why are we in this position right now? I think there's two very simple ways that we could be in the position we are today. And that's given everything. And it's going to piss people off because, and also before I say them, don't forget, I've put in hours into this as well. Hours. Yeah. I've looked into everything and anything and through all lenses. I don't have a damn clue what happened. Nobody does. And if you do think you know, like I said, it's the truth that they want you to know, if that's even close to it.
So the one again, for the people who watch the show and are really hardcore, Kohberger had nothing to do with it. He's an innocent guy and he's being framed or whatever. I'll restate the thing that's not so popular, which is that I've postulated for quite a long time, what if Brian Kohberger was the getaway driver? He may have been there at the scene. Another person went in. I've alleged that it could be Brent Kopacka, and I have reasons to believe that the two of them knew each other. I've talked about it a million times. I've got a million videos on it. If Kohberger, for example, brought Kopacka to the house and Kopacka and others, or maybe Kopacka alone, if that happened that way, it's possible Kohberger never went into the house. And here's the thing. If the feds had been watching, and I have reasons to believe that as well, had been watching Kopacka and was suspecting that this was going to come down in the house, and then Kopacka gets killed in a standoff a month after the murders, what are they left with? They're left with, I know the driver and I know the guy that did the killing, but the killer is dead. All we've got left is the driver. So we know in our hearts, we know Kohberger was there. We can't prove it, but we're going to tell Moscow Police Department, look, I can't tell you how I know, but I know Kohberger was there. So fucking place him in the house. He was there. I guarantee you. And then they're like, well, we can't place him there. And they're like, well, do whatever you can, because I'm guaranteeing you that guy's guilty. He was there. Now, at the end of the day, the problem they might have is he never went into the house. And again, if he was the driver, yes, a speck of DNA, the size less than a grain of sand, could have landed. The air conditioner in the car that night could have blown his skin cell onto the knife sheath, therefore depositing a piece of his DNA on the knife sheath. That doesn't mean Kohberger went into the house. He literally could have been the getaway driver. So I think that's my plausible explanation. They went after Kohberger because they knew in their heart that he was there, but they can't put him in the house. So they just decided, we're going to put him in the house because somebody needs to go down for this. We need the university to feel safe. We need college students to feel safe. We need parents to feel safe bringing their kids back to school. We can't have a killer on the loose. We can't have an unsolved crime. So since we know Kohberger was there, we're just going to make it happen. And maybe in some logic, Kohberger rolled over because he's like, well, fuck it, I was there. Like, it's not what happened. It's not factually true. As Ann Taylor would say, Kohberger's maintaining his factual innocence. To me, that was huge. Factual innocence, because the facts that they're stating are not what happened. Kohberger might have been there, but it didn't happen the way they said it did. So factually, they're incorrect. And he knows factually they're incorrect. But he was there. So maybe just went, fuck it. I was there. So what am I going to do? They're going to get me. You know? And,
well, I think all of those points come back to, like, what time?
Right. Which you should lay out.
and how did he enter the house?
Yeah.
Or how did the people that were with him enter the house? Where's the murder weapon, Brian? If they were killed or if where did they dump the murder weapon? Like, right? Like, how did they not track DNA? What did they wear? What was their motive? Like, I think there's other things that Brian should have known too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. But to your point, you bring up all of these questions, all of the questions of trace DNA, skin cell, air conditioner blowing it. Okay. Do you think that what you just laid out, a jury would find reasonable doubt on, given what we've seen in the court documents, given what probably would have went to trial? I still think even with that story, my opinion, you could disagree. I think a jury, given they were not corrupt, would have found reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
Think of how crazy that is. It's like, well, then this person did that. It's like, this is straightforward. It's one guy. They're saying it's a lone wolf.
I think for sure it would have led to reasonable doubt, which is why I feel they were terrified to let this go to trial, which is why I feel in this country we overcharge people and then scare the shit out of them, saying we're going to execute you. You're not going to get a fair trial. We're going to execute you. You need to plea out. And why 90-something% of all cases don't go to trial, because they don't want to lose in trial. I think a jury could have been convinced for reasonable doubt, and they didn't want to take that risk.
Yeah. Dude, look, at the end of the day, when you and I talk like this is how we talk on the phone, Hive.
Yeah.
Dead. Like, this is like what we were saying. We're like, we should do this tonight. We should just this is like how you're seeing our brains work in real time. And I think it's cool that we both just kind of let each other talk and go off of it. And you just had brought up, like, why don't I go off of the time? One of the things that I brought up to DA on the phone earlier this afternoon was I started talking about the DoorDash order. And if you missed my live from last night, I would say go back and watch it. I'm not going to pull up all of these visuals. Okay. This is still a working theory. This is day 3. I do things a little bit differently, where when I have a theory, I work with my chat live. So like, there's going to be things throughout the theory that, like, as the chat comes in, maybe it's like, okay, well, we're going to have to tweak that. But I've been trying to dial it in over the last few days. Thursday is going to be a big day. I'm going to have Sherlock Romes on the stream, and I've been prepping my balls off for visuals so that we can chronologically line up a timeline. And so last night I started talking about a delta before 3 a.m. and a double delta after 3 a.m. If you don't know what that means, it's going to be hard to explain. I would suggest I have a 14-minute video I put out yesterday that does explain it. One of the things I thought was interesting is, and I'm speculating, so get your tinfoil hat ready, DA, and everybody in the den. I've said this a lot as of late, but 2 of the 4 victims, we know their movements down to the minute. Down to the minute, bro. The other 2, we have no idea where they are. Okay. So my question is, if the delta applies when Dylan would have been texting Eric, the Uber driver, at 1:03, and then he responds to her at 1:05, we know that they've said that everybody was home at 2 a.m. Okay. And they were talking about going to get food. Just like I was talking about how Dylan's statement makes no sense for Kaylee to be dancing and singing alone with her dog at 4 a.m. by herself. And yet there's all the other confusion leading up to that with who took the dog out, when did Bethany go back inside, listen to Dylan's statement, all that, right? Without going too into the weeds, but just to get people thinking about this. If you apply that delta to 2 a.m. when they say that Kaylee, Maddie, Dylan, and Bethany were talking about going out to get food, if you apply that delta to 2 a.m. and it's really Dylan, Bethany, Xana, and Ethan, that takes you to like 12:50, which is like 10 to 13 minutes before Dylan texts to see if the Uber driver's driving. Let's say that they're having a conversation. I'm speculating right now. But if you are all hanging out and in the midst of this conversation at 1:03, you text an Uber driver to see, like, hey, are we going to go back? Are you driving tonight? Come pick us up, take us to the grub truck, whatever it is, right? Maybe. Let's say you decide against that. And let's say around 1:05, 1:10, you order DoorDash. Well, if you take the double delta after 3 a.m., when Molly shows up, that puts it at 1:58 arriving. And so if it was Dylan, Bethany, Xana, and Ethan talking about going to get food, and they were debating, texting Eric to see if they're driving to take him to the grub truck, because again, it makes no sense that Kaylee and Maddie just came from the grub truck with food, that they would go right back. And it was them earlier in the night.
Yeah.
And they decided, no, we don't want to go out. We'll just DoorDash something. Well, that food would be showing up right before 2 a.m. as well. Again, it's all speculation, but I'm trying to piece together a chronological timeline. There can't be 2 timelines. I'm telling you, my gut tells me, and I don't know what you think about it, because I don't even think you answered this on the phone when we were talking earlier, but like, how do you have 2 separate potential timelines, yet the same missing gaps in both of those timelines? You don't know where 2 of the victims are. And then in addition to that, you don't know how any of them were really killed, when they were killed, where they were killed, how they were killed, who killed them. You don't know anything. So it's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you said you didn't want to show some of the graphics, but I think, I saw some of the graphics and I think it did help explain things. It gets convoluted and it's hard for people. Yeah. Like some of those graphics. And again, I think, as we talked about, if you're going to lay out time manipulations, you have to be able to ask the why. Why are they, whoever they are you accusing Moscow Police Department of manipulating the timestamps? Are you accusing the federal government of manipulating the timestamps? Is it the prosecution? Who is manipulating the timeline, and then why? Why are they manipulating the timeline? If you can answer those two questions, and everything about this is how the timeline was manipulated, you can go down that thing, right? Because why, what would be accomplished by doing that? You have to have a theory that says they're trying to cover up what really happened because whatever it is. And because they're trying to cover it up, that's why they had to manipulate this, they had to manipulate this, and they had to manipulate this, because they don't want you to know this. And that's where I keep noodling, is how do we get to what were they trying to cover up to do? I mean, I think the timeline manipulations, everyone's got a million theories about it. We've been talking about it for quite a while, and I think they're fascinating. I think you should lay out some of these timelines. We had a fascinating conversation pre-show about the black truck and whether it's Quinn's truck or whatever. Right. Even though supposedly he was in Boise, Idaho that night. So can it be Quinn's truck? And if it is, then it leads to some interesting theories about why we think Quinn was in Boise when he wasn't in Boise, if that's his. Or, like you said, like we were kind of just riffing off things. Did Dylan borrow Quinn's truck? Could she have been driving around as Quinn? So there's a lot of questions. If the timeline's manipulated, we need to ask ourselves, about.
Well, and so I want to bring up what Daily Twin Flame just said, and thank you for giving this. Like Chief Fry said that, so Chief Fry, according to Daily Twin Flame, and I will say that I've heard this as well, that Ethan and Xana were home by or at 1:45 in the morning.
Yep.
If you subtract the delta, that takes you to 12:37. So if they get home at almost 12:40 and they've been home for 20 minutes and maybe they're hungry and they're talking about all this with Dylan, and then she's texting Eric to see if he's driving, and then so again, I could pull up the timelines. I just feel like it's going to be a lot for me to dive into. That's fine. I will. But like I said, I'm I put it out there hard the last 2 days. Like I said, dude, like I was fired up because I know what's coming from a taking flack standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
just like tonight
defensive.
just like tonight when I mentioned Kopaka and someone's like, Jesus Christ, would you stop with Kopaka? He has no connection to this crime whatsoever. Like, people lose their minds if they hear something that they've already shut down in their head. They've already shut it down. That's been answered. It's not Kopaka. So shut the fuck up about Kopaka. And it's like, really, do you know all the receipts I have on Kopaka? Like, maybe you just shut down a long time ago and now nothing can enter your mind. But anyways.
And it's kind of funny. Like there's a lot of really, really good comments that I know that I don't see.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I don't know if it's like subconsciously, whatever. I just so happen to see comments that piss me off and send me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I just so happen, like I go, I've been sitting in front of my computer from 7 a.m. yesterday till 7:47. Like I had 12 hours in front, like doing all of the deltas, looking at all the footage. And someone said, you've been sitting in front of your computer for 12 hours drinking. Like you can't even pronounce words like this. And I go, and now I'm thinking to myself, God damn it, I've talked about it. I went to speech class. I have a lisp. I have a Zin in. And I just busted my ass on this, doing so much math today. Like it pisses me off, even though
they got in your
matter.
head. They got it. One comment gets in your head.
And it's not even that I doubt myself. It's just like, I'm like, God damn it. Why did I have to see that? Let me just like shut up respectfully for 5 minutes and look at the screen and then judge it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, dude, you can't say that I would just come on here and say, like, I feel as if actually, since I've gotten to YouTube, and maybe if you're new to tuning into me, you might not know this. Since I've come to YouTube, I have gotten so much tamer on my theories. So much tamer, dude. I used to say wild shit about this. And now I'm starting to dial it in to where I'm like, this is just straight up manipulation. And if we can unscramble this manipulation, I believe that we can at least piece together when it is. I want to know how many people know on the Linda Lane archive, type of 1, how many people know that on YouTube right now today, there is, and I'm not going to give it away because I'm curious, and I will tell you after this, but how many people know you can hear sirens on Linda Lane dumpster camera, and how many people know that there's a cop driving with its lights on in front of the dumpster camera on Linda Lane? How many people know that?
That's one.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So there's a handful of people that do, but it's so much earlier in the night. And I go back to, well, go listen to that. It sounds like a party's going on, but then you hear sirens and then you see a cop car with lights on. And then I'm like, back to both of the moms talking about 2 a.m. And then the other mom saying they was shot up. It's just like, I don't know. And I love Namastella's comment. I don't know what I know anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And here's yeah.
Go for it.
You know,
Say it.
about the YouTube thing, it's kind of it's funny because I'm just like you, but I think with YouTube I've learned to get a thicker skin because here's the thing. I've said it before and I'm going to say it briefly again. I finally decided to stop getting so irritated with people who say I'm a jackass when I know the case better than they do. Like, why am I allowing myself to get so bent out of shape by somebody that I probably know the case way better than they do? And I'm going to let that asshole's opinion, like, really? Like, I bet you I can ask you some basics about this case that you can't answer. So why am I spending any time letting you live rent free in my head, pissing me off about you're an idiot? Like, okay, do you even know the case?
My favorite comments are when people reference, and this is not disrespectful to anybody, I promise you. There's been so many of these comments that I can't even dial in on one. My favorite is the comments of this person said that first. And I look at the name and I go, I don't even know them. And I'm not even being mean. I've never even seen that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they said it first. I'm like, okay. And then you go back, you look, and it's like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
If that's even close to the same thing. But
Yeah.
okay. I want to get back to this. I want to focus up
Yeah.
here because
Let's do that.
Because one of the things too that I've mentioned was like 156. Again, this is my interpretation. I was telling you my captions I put on this. This is clipped from a YouTube short and a TikTok that I made. I put the captions on because when I originally uploaded it without captions, because I don't like doing captions because it creates this bias in people's minds, people were also saying, what am I even listening for? Right. So it's like you can't win. I either put it out there and then in the comments, people are like, I can't make it out or whatever it is. Then you put it on there. And I think to what you and I both kind of think about audio, it's open for your own interpretation. But, 156 that happens. This is what the guy said that I was drinking in front of my computer putting together. Okay. God damn that guy.
Damn it, Jeff.
Yeah. God damn it, Jeff. Which, by the way, we have a hilarious t-shirt that says God damn it, Jeff. And we also have a scrub truck t-shirt on our hivemindstore.com for a quick little plug. But again, this double delta going back to like in my head, 156 is when they say the girls get home. If you believe that, which for this theory, I'm using that as real time, and you subtract the double delta, it's really all of this information, or I'm sorry, all of these texts and calls would have started at 2:04, which is less than 10 minutes after the girls arrive. And then you would have seen Dylan driving off, technically, according to my theory, at 1:52. So 4 minutes right before the girls got home. I also wonder, and this is going to be an unpopular theory here, but if my hypothesis is wrong on why Dylan is texting Eric to see if he's driving still, if it's wrong on the food thing, I feel bad saying this, but I think in a nefarious light, like the setup. Is it a setup, dude? Because
Pretty much.
Because what if she texts him, are you driving tonight? He texts back, yes, I'm driving tonight. And then are we to think that at 1:45 when Kaylee texts Eric for the ride, he doesn't quick shoot Dylan a text saying, I'm going to go pick him up now. And then she would leave at 1:52 right before they get home.
Yeah.
Like, again, people get pissed about that. I'm not even anti-Dylan, pro-Dylan. I've clowned her for her statements. Don't get me wrong. I don't believe you sleep through a quadruple homicide. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't know what she's doing is real or fake. All I do know is that there's no way in hell that the timeline that we've been sold is accurate. There's no way. And I'm not trying to make people mad because I get it. You can piece together. What I'm trying to say is the timeline has been separated and spread out. If this is such a quick crime, why do we hear so many different various pockets of noise on the cameras, manipulated or not? But then it's like, if you're going to say that's manipulated, well, so is the footage of your timeline in the same breath, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I wish that more people could let go of their pride or their ego or whatever it is and just take a breath and be like, I'm working within the confines of what I've been told to look into.
So I'm gonna say something. Fuck, I can't believe I'm gonna do this. I said at the beginning, you said at the beginning, we're gonna go off the rails a little bit. We're gonna caveat this. This is not fully thought out with receipts. But one of the things I can tell you is I've made multiple trips to Moscow recently. I've driven the place. I've shown on camera, on your show, I showed in camera how extremely tight everything is there. All the buildings are right on top of each other. We're to believe that you can hear a thud and a dog bark and a whimper, but you can't hear people screaming and fighting for their lives. Or to counter some of the stuff that you're kind of saying, but I'm gonna go with you in a second. To counter some of it, how can people be shot up? You're telling me that people didn't report gunshots in the area? Every house in that area touches it. You would hear gunshots. In my opinion, you would hear gunshots. But how many people are saying the kids were killed somewhere else? So could they have been shot up at some other place? Could they have been driven to a location, shot and killed, and then brought back to the house? Something to that effect. So that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because again, the gunshot idea, even if you go with silencers and all the other shit, the gunshot thing is really hard to sell. If you drive that neighborhood, everything's right on top of each other. You're not getting away with gunshots in that neighborhood without half a dozen people calling in. I just heard shots fired in this thing. So, but what if people were right that the killings took place somewhere else? This would explain why the bodies, the heart stopped beating, so there's not a lot of blood. Therefore, the crime scene wouldn't have a lot of blood at the crime scene if they were already dead before they got brought back to the house. Those kind of things could explain some of the stuff. But again, how far do you want to go through that logic? Can you bring 4 bodies back to the house and just nonchalantly carry in 4 bodies to the house and nobody notices you dragging 4 bodies back in? Like, how far do you want to go with that? Or did they never make it back to the house and the crime scene has no blood there because there's no bodies there and they never were there, and they just tore the whole place down so that we'd never see that there was nobody there? Like, how far do you want to go with it?
I agree. How far do you want to go? I'm going to play devil's advocate right now, everybody. What is the only weapon that is stated by people directly involved in this case? Has anybody said a knife?
I mean, the victims' families?
I'm saying Dylan described what?
Right.
Bethany described a flash and a bang and a pop.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The Gonzalez family says their niece called and said they got shot. Okay. You have a guy who walks in there that there's an ISP report that says he stole his uncle's ATF jacket. It looked like somebody deer hunted and double tapped everybody. Gunderson is canvassing the apartments next to 1122. And the kid opens his door and says, well, somebody asked me if I was okay because they heard about the gunshots. I didn't hear any gunshots, so I was at work. So I'm like, the only thing that you're really hearing about, you're not hearing about a stabbing. You're hearing, that's what I'm trying to say. The stabbing is really only coming from this knife sheath DNA, bro. They never found the murder weapon.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the other thing too is like to Bourbon Santa is like how many people recognize the sound of a gunshot? Because there's a lot of people that get jumpy around a firecracker. That's true.
Sure.
Or a firework. I'm not, when I said I was playing devil's advocate to you, I wasn't being that in a dick way. You know that I'm just asking you, but like, dude, has there been any reference? And people said, I just saw, one say there would be so many 911 calls. Apparently nobody called 911 that night though, ever about anything. Yet there's Snapchats. There's people that are already at the house. Everyone's calling each other. We know the roommates weren't asleep. I don't know. I'm not shitting on anybody because I agree. It makes no sense to your point. If there was gunshots, you would think there would be a plethora of cops all over that place.
Yeah, I mean, our law enforcement consultant, whatever you want to call him on my show, like he specifically said, I guarantee you, if there was gunshots, you would have had dozens of calls that night about gunshots. Like he doesn't believe it could have been gunshots, even with a silencer, without a lot of calls coming in.
Yeah,
to 911 about gunshots. But
I do agree with the silencer aspect. Like I've shot a gun with a silencer. It's not like the James Bond movies where it's just like,
right. It's not.
No, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, dude, I don't know. It's a good question, but you have to ask then. Okay. Here's the other thing. The time frame that the crime happens in. I think we have to decide, are we going to take the time frame that the crimes were committed in, and then the lack of DNA of any alt perps? And I get it. There's some, but they don't test them.
Yeah, I want to, Birdie. Someone just got rent free in my head. I have to address something because I saw in the chat. DA's theory can't make sense because there would have been the girl's DNA in BK's car and back. When I say he's the getaway driver, I've posited a theory that Koberger didn't know what was going to happen that night. And when he heard screams in the house, perhaps he bolted and left. I have always said, I don't believe the killer got back in Koberger's car if he was there because of the same thing you just said. There is no way DNA doesn't transfer both ways. Koberger's DNA would be more involved in that scene than it is, and the victim's DNA would have dripped out to the car and back. There's a scenario in my mind where Koberger could have been there and peeled out and left when he realized what was happening, dropped somebody else and off and left. Whatever the case may be, I'm not saying that the killer got back in Koberger's car. In my theory, just to be clear, because when someone says DA's theory is wrong because they couldn't, I never thought that they got back in Koberger's car. I never thought that.
I have a question for 112. Going off of this is what I'm curious for, like police that are trained. Okay. This is just, you're watching my brain work in real time right here, everybody. So, the guy who stole his uncle's ATF jacket, isn't that kind of weird? He doesn't get any charges either. Like nothing. You just get to steal your uncle's ATF jacket and walk into an active crime scene and then get interviewed about it.
Wouldn't he be impersonating if he's impersonating a law
federal agent?
Yeah, a federal agent, right? Impersonating a federal agent. Yeah.
And they just whatever. No report taken. End of report, right? But my question to 1-1 is this: like when I hear double tapped, my mind goes to trained shooter. Like when you're a cop, are you trained? I don't know. Like, how are you trained? Like do do. That's how I think, like addressing multiple targets. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like a double tap? I'm thinking about that the right way, right? Like a double tap, like boom, boom.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if there's any police in here that could maybe answer that. Like, it just, when I hear double tap, but guys, for you to say like, we can't take that seriously. Well, how is that not a news story? That somebody stole their uncle's ATF jacket and walked into a quadruple homicide.
Yeah, 1-1 says they're not trained to double tap.
Okay. I was just curious. I don't know, because whatever, my brain goes a bunch of different places. So what was I saying though before you said that somebody got in your head?
Well, we were talking about the ATF jacket, I thought. but maybe that was after.
Well, we were talking about the gunshots, and I mean, I do think that the best point for the gunshot theory is that how is there not a plethora of 911 calls? Yes. Like that is, I agree with, because if all victims were double tapped, and I remembered what I was going to say now, but if
That'd
all
be a
victims,
lot of gunshots.
it's 8 gunshots.
Yeah.
Assuming you don't miss.
Right.
But okay, here was the point that I was going to make. The time frame. 7 or 8 minutes, 2, 3 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever they say, right? There's a wide variety. At the end of the day, most people, and I believe what they're saying it happened extremely quick. And given, while yes, there's blood, to see the autopsies and have people fighting back and have what, almost 45 plus wounds each? A lot of wounds. So if there was multiple perpetrators, how many people in here think that anybody could attack 2 people, yet alone one person, and even raise their arm up and down 40 times in 60 seconds while somebody's fighting you off them with a knife? You're distracted.
I am. I was reading a question saying there were gunshots reported that night, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, but they said at 1 a.m. Anyways, sorry.
Wait, at 1 a.m.
Yeah, that's what somebody posted. Somebody posted there were gunshots reported in the area that night. Was it at 1 a.m.? It was a question. Was it 1 a.m.? Question mark. I can look. So somebody, Balaam's llama is going to look up when the gunshots were reported.
Okay. Now I'm going to go off of that with my Delta theory then. If it was 1 a.m. and it's before 3 a.m., you add 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 26 seconds. That takes you to 2:07. The girls got home at 1:56. They say that this crime happened between 4 and 4:25. After 3 a.m., you subtract the double delta. That puts you between 1:45 and 2:10. So technically, if it is 1 a.m., that is 2:07. That is in the crime window. It was at 1:08, Amanda B says. Wow.
Yeah, there's a couple people said there was a gunshot reported at 1:08.
Wow. So that's where this Delta theory, like, dude, now you have 2 a.m.'s a dark hour. The Delta makes that 2 a.m. You have another mom saying that they were shot at a party. Then that could corroborate a gunshot. We have a second weapon used that we don't know. And if you listen on Linda Lane at 156 for whatever it's worth, you hear a lot of shit going down. Almost like there might be a party happening.
Yeah. Robin was asking me to read Amanda's comment, but if Amanda's comment was the 108, I did read that. Did she miss another one that I said, Robin? But anyways.
Anyways, dude. I think I've decided that. What's that?
Oh, nothing. They said they posted something to me in Discord, so I'll look at it.
Okay. I hope too, with what I'm going to say next, people, I don't want to say can respect that, like what I'm about to say. It's not like a respect thing. I maybe appreciate. I've gone down every avenue that I can go down. I've not yet gone down this one fully. Okay. So type of 1, whether you agree with this Delta maybe being something or not, do you want me to see it through? Because at the end of the day, if I'm out here just following my intuition, I can do that on my free time and then present it. But I think there might be something here, guys. We haven't looked into this. And at the end of the day, it's also simple math. It's 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 26 seconds, either doubled and then subtracted, or it's just 1 hour and 7 minutes and 26 seconds subtracted by itself. At a fixed point in time, they've said this time, or like anything around 3 a.m. So 2:56 to 3:01 to 3, whatever it is. It is very, very easy, in my opinion, to do that. And devil's advocates, if you don't think, I would almost argue that if you and I had to cover this crime up, the shit that we would try to do to cover it up would be so much more illogical than that.
Right. Yeah.
So Cats Mojo says, Birdie, police blotter 108, 2300 block, South Main Street. Someone blaring loud music and shooting off a shotgun. No report.
2300 block of South Main. Okay.
But I mean, whatever. I don't know. It's just, that's crazy.
I think Maine is pretty far away from the residence, but.
Well, and you have the gun rack guy.
Right.
What would the what is the timestamp of gun rack guy? Because I have that in my notes. The other thing that the Delta is crazy. When Dylan adds the contact to her phone would be right after you see the white BMW.
Yeah.
When Xana's on TikTok would be before the girls get home.
Birdie.
I mean, that's weird. What?
I think this person's responding to your comment about if you and I were trying to cover something up and someone true crime crash out says, DA, Birdie would be Dylan in this scenario. That was like, what does that mean? His story would be all over. What does that mean exactly? I thought it was funny though.
Yeah, well, you'd never figure the case out then. That's my response.
Right? Yeah. Well,
in my opinion, if I was trying to cover it up and I'm Dylan, technically I'd be doing a damn good job. So I'll take that as a compliment. And I raise you.
Right.
I wish you the best of luck trying to figure it out then. Because Dylan, nobody understands what she's saying.
And they're saying now I'm going to be Bethany. I already see the memes coming where they're going to do a meme where you and I are dressed up like Dylan and Bethany, and it's going to be an inside joke on this shit. I can already feel it.
Right. So 351 or 354 are the two deltas for gun rack guy. Let me just do this quick. 3:51 a.m. and 3:54 a.m. Subtract 1 hour 7. All right. So if gun rack guy, okay. Now I'm sorry. You have to, because it's at 351, you have to double the delta. Now take an additional 1 hour 7 minutes off that. So that would be gun rack guy would be at like 140. Again, 15 minutes before the girls get home.
You had that gifter that said if the timeline was the way you're kind of saying, then there would be loud music and partying going on next door, so no one could hear the shootings. Maybe if there was loud partying going on, right?
Well, dude, again, that's why I would encourage everybody. You know what? And whatever. If people want to get pissed off at me for saying we have court documents out that have facts and all this other shit, you tell me what happened, and you can tell me if you could explain this damn case. Because at the end of the day, it's all a hypothesis, everybody. And you have to use your imagination, and everybody has to admit that. There should be single things along every step of the way that are like corroborating this, and that. They came in through the back window. They came in through the front door. They drove in this car there. They then proceeded to walk to this area of the house. They had a lookout over here. It shouldn't be us figuring it out if it was straightforward. So my question is like, again, I'm not mad about it. I just see how I do that? Because I know I'm in the middle of putting out a new theory that I haven't.
Calm down, man. Put your helmet on. Calm down.
But again, I'm also just like, I am trusting my gut on this. And to Nomadic Duckman's point, I would just encourage people, like, would it be that crazy to take our clips or snips of all the video that they said they have when you can clearly hear audio manipulation? Just think to yourself, what if they did a different timestamp? So then if you go listen to 11:16 on Linda Lane, like, watch it and forget about 11:16. You hear sirens. You see cop cars with their lights on. You know what I mean?
Even if you have to play the clip that you sent me, Sky Blue said, I want to hear I want to see the rest of the slides. Follow this theory to the end, because what's happening, I feel, Birdie, and I mean, it's your show, but I think we're kind of scattershotting a lot of shit all over the place, right? And I feel like we're confusing people, but you made a good layout, and maybe if we have time, maybe you should lay that out, like. Even if it's to show that clip, because it was pretty well laid out, you don't have to redo it. Maybe would it play well to play the clip here and talk about it while it's playing, or
Which one? The one that I texted you?
yes, because because again, people are like, well, I want to hear what that would mean all the way through. Where does it put all the different events that we know happen in this case on your theory?
Right.
Because otherwise they're kind of getting confused and trying to figure out what Birdie's saying, what Birdie's not saying. It's just, I don't know if it's too long to play, but it might be worth it because it's pretty well laid out,
Are you talking about this thing?
No, I was talking about a video clip you sent me where you were wanting me to kind of make sure I was up to date on.
Oh, I sent you my quick cut from yesterday.
Yeah. Wasn't that like less than 15 minutes?
Yeah, it was 14 minutes. If you guys, I could show you the walkthrough of it quick. I mean,
yeah.
Do you guys want to see that? I guess type of what that's a good idea. It's short. I mean, because when I skipped through my rant in the beginning, it would only be about 8 minutes. So, but like, I think you bring up a good point.
Look at all the comments. People want to see it. We should, if you especially if you can clip out a little portion of it of the rant, then it's a good layout. It's laid out good.
Yeah, like so. I think you bring up a good point too. Let me just address this in 30 seconds or less here. You're right. I need to, and that's why I wanted to put it out there between, Saturday and Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday. I wanted to put it out there. And I said, I'm going to lean on people for this. We created a new channel in our Discord for it, or a new thread in our Discord for it, because I think there's something here. What I spent all day doing, not all day, my free time doing, is I went on Linda Lane. Guys, do you know how weird it is that I've found little things that, and I'll show this. The guy that's like smoking a dart or a vape, and he goes and he shines a light into the dumpster? That guy that walks up Linda Lane? Okay. Yeah. That's on the dumpster cam. And what time is that at? That's later. It's randomly. Everybody goes, where did he come from? Well, if they did scramble the footage, you see his ass with a flashlight smoking a dart at like 12:43 on the car park camera, walking in the direction that he would have then come out halfway up the dumpster cam. So I'm like, if they do have clips they've stitched together, guys, I'm just trying to say, if you've never done anything on CapCut, it would take 2 seconds to do that. Do you know what I mean? It would take 2 seconds to rearrange that and have a running time at the top that would stay constant.
Wow, look at the nice gift.
Hey, look at that. Happy in my flip-flops 3. Just a thank you to you and DA for all the long hours put in. We appreciate all. Well, I appreciate that super chat, and thank you for tuning in. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play this. All right. Let me get this.
Do it live.
Yep. Fuck it. We're doing it live. All right. I think this is it. Efficiently walk through the basis of this. Who here remembers what hour did Mrs. Chapin say is a dark hour for their family? 2 a.m. Keep that in mind, Hive. All right. Yesterday, I started talking through this theory where I'm going to take Kaylee and Maddie riding home at 1:56 a.m. I'm going to count that as real time. I'm not going to apply a delta to that. I think that has been solidified over and over and over again. 1:56 a.m. after the girls leave the grub truck is where this theory starts. All right. About an hour and 4 minutes later, if you're familiar with the Banfield body cam stop footage, you see the big black diesel truck rolling by at 3 a.m. There's a lot of people that have speculated that this is Quinn. This is Dylan's boyfriend's truck. This is all allegedly. There was a rumored 911 call at 3:01 a.m. 1:56 a.m. The girls get home. 3 o'clock, you see the black truck driving by. 3:01 is the suspected or the rumored 911 call. 312 is when you see the Banfield runners. I hate to even do this. You got to give Ashley Banfield credit. You know, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and again. She on News Nation did show this. So when she's not, I guess, getting off to Koberger's Muffin Tops, she might be doing something worthwhile. But, you know, this isn't just me spitting conspiracies. There are Banfield runners. This is where yesterday I said, get your tinfoil hats ready. Yesterday was the first day that I went live with this theory. Today, I believe that I've dialed it in and I've lined things up that I do not believe anybody has been able to line up or make sense of. So what I'm doing here, just to clarify, and why I say get your tinfoil hats ready, is I'm applying what's known as a delta, okay? A delta is a difference between two fixed points in time. 2 a.m., 3 a.m. There is a delta of 1 hour. 2 a.m., 3:30 a.m., there is a delta of 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay, so delta means difference. It's not confusing. You just got to know the definition. There are a handful of people that have been looking into the Idaho forecast that have talked about this 1 hour, 7 minute, and 26 second delta time difference in when they believe events were happening compared to the timestamp on body cam or security cameras. So when I say delta, there is a 1 hour, 7 minute, and 26 second time difference. 3 a.m. is when the black truck seen leaving, but if you apply the delta, it's 1:52 a.m. 3:01 was the rumored 911 call. If you apply the delta, it's 1:53 a.m. The girls then get home at 1:56 a.m. Don't forget about everything that you hear on Linda Lane at that time frame. And then 7 minutes after that, 7 to 8 minutes approximately after that, you see the Banfield runners. This is where I thought to myself, now this is trippy. Olivia, Kaylee's sister, says the ride share driver said around 1:45, Kaylee had texted him requesting a ride from the grub truck. Olivia says Kaylee made a call to her boyfriend at 2:56 a.m., but he didn't answer. Well, I have a question for everybody. How many people in here, if this is you, how many people in here would text or call their significant other when they are out with a friend and just ordered an Uber to head home? Would you call your significant other or text them saying, hey, babe, we're on our way home. We're about to leave. I'm heading home. If you want to come over, like if you're dating and you weren't married, if you're just in college, right? Is that reasonable? Is that a crazy conspiracy? No, I don't think it is. 2:56, when Kaylee allegedly called Jack, if you subtract the delta of 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 26 seconds, that is 3 minutes after she texted the rideshare driver to schedule the ride home. Look at what's playing out. 1:45, Kaylee texts the Uber driver. 1:52, the black truck is seen leaving. 1:53, there's a rumored 911 call. They get home at 1:56. 2:04, the Banfield people go running back behind them. You guys, apply this to the whole night. 2:10 in the morning, DM is texting the Uber driver to see if he's still driving. Well, if you apply the delta, anytime before 3 a.m., you subtract 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 26 seconds, and tell me if this timeline doesn't freaking seem so much more logical. Dylan texted the Uber driver inquiring if he was driving at 2:10. Well, with the delta, it's 1:03. The Uber driver confirms he is driving. That's at 1:05 in the morning. Now, how weird is this? What time did Olivia say that Kaylee texted Eric to get a ride home? 1:45. Well, at 2:53, you do the delta. That would be 1:45. Maddie is calling Bethany. Is it to let Bethany and them know or see what's going on at home as they are about to leave? And then you add in Kaylee making the last call to Jack at 2:56. Well, that's 1:48. So as soon as Kaylee's done ordering the Uber, does she call Jack? So just hear me out. Everything that I just lined up, this starts at 103, 105, 145, 148. Black truck leaves at 152. The 911 call that's rumored is 153. The girls get home at 156. Banfield runners at 204. This is the first theory. This is the first time that I do wonder if you apply the delta, is Dylan in this truck? Is Dylan in this truck? And before anybody judges me or has their opinion, just shut up respectfully and listen. Like just the Step Brothers thing, like shut your mouth. Listen. Because if Dylan is in this truck and this delta is right, and she leaves right before the girls are getting home, well, according to the police affidavit, Kaylee and Maddie were stabbed to death between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. So as I said, you have to be able to critically think, put yourself into somebody's shoes that is trying to cover this up. How would you do it? Why would you do it? Well, what if before 3 a.m. you subtracted 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 26 seconds, and then after 3 a.m. you doubled it? You doubled the delta. So they said, according to the police, Kaylee and Maddie were stabbed to death between 4 a.m. Well, if you just applied one delta, that would be 252 to 317. That doesn't line up with when the girls get home, when we have any of the commotion going on, Linda Lane. But if you doubled it, hold on. Oh, wow. When does the commotion start on Linda Lane? 1:45 a.m. to 2:10 a.m. So 3 a.m. being the 301 rumored 911 call is the cutoff. Anything before 3:01 a.m., if you subtract just 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 26 seconds, it lines up. Anything after 3:01, if you double it, then it lines up. You have to subtract it singularly before 3:01, and you have to double it after 3:01. And now look at this timeline. Look at everything that we've seen on Linda Lane. And what's even trippier is if you take the 4:08 time, take the 4:08, the 4:19, and subtract the delta from the 1112 camera footage, guess what time frame it puts you in when you double the delta and reverse it? It puts you in the same damn time frame of 1:45 to 2:10. When does Brian Koberger circle the house? Oh, between 4 and 4:25. Well, that's after 3:01. So they've doubled the delta. But if you subtract the double delta, it's 1:45 to 2:10. When do you see the white BMW? 12:43. Oh, why don't you add the delta? That takes you to 1:51. So they literally counted it out that we are that dumb that we don't understand math. 3:01, if that 911 call is real, but either way, I don't know how the math would line up even thus far if it's not real. They've subtracted from 3:01 and they doubled past it. So 1:52, let's say that Dylan does leave. So, nonetheless, 4:19:07. Bethany calls DM for 23 seconds. Well, after 3:01, if you subtract the double delta, that's 2:04, which is 7 or 8 minutes right after 1:56 when the girls get home. She then proceeds to hang up. DM, if DM got in that truck at 1:52, as I think happened, well, everything would have went down 4 minutes after DM was in Quinn's truck. Hence why 4:19 is 2:04 and Bethany's calling her, telling her what the hell. Hence why at 2:05, Dylan's calling Xana. Dylan's calling Kaylee. Then Dylan calls Bethany back. Bethany then calls Xana. Bethany then calls Ethan. DM's texting them within freaking 10 minutes of all that shit going down. No one's answering. DM's texting Bethany. I'm so confused right now as she's driving in Quinn's truck away at 152.
Yeah, Birdie.
Tell me these text.
I want to, because everybody's going nuts about Quinn, and I know when I was talking to you about Quinn,
you just cut it off the best part.
Oh shit! Fuck! Shit!
I'm just talking with you. But my point was this, just to finish that real quick before you say that, because I get it, it was a little bit longer. My whole point is this: if I don't give a shit if it's Quinn, if it's whatever, my point is, at least I'm making sense of texts that made no sense given their time frame. Their time frame made zero sense. Like you said, why not just walk upstairs? You could say, oh, they were scared. They were frozen in shock. No, they weren't. They weren't. They didn't sound scared. All this odd stuff, when you put it in the time frame of it happening in a 25-minute period, 4 a.m. to 4:25 is really 1:45 to 2:10. It's in when the girls get home. The white BMW shows up. Ethan and Xana are home by 1:45. It's like all of them are there. It all lines up. Why would Bethany call Dylan for 23 seconds at 2:04? Well, maybe all this shit just went down. Why does Dylan say my phone's going to die? Just plug it in. Well, what if she's in the truck leaving the house and never grabbed a charger? That's my point, is that I think the text, the calls, the flurry of it, in my opinion, people can, and here, before you say that the next part about people, whatever people are saying about it, my thing is this: put out a better theory. That's my thing. Like, I've put out a ton. I've worked with everybody in here showing other people's theories. And if we wanted to get Brian Koberger off, in my opinion, getting Brian Koberger off, the court documents already do that. They already do that. Any good law firm will get Brian off given the court documents and given the DNA testing already. That's my genuine opinion.
So, you know, when you were showing the thing, you know, you talk about the black truck several times. You talk about it maybe being Quinn's truck and whatever. And so in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, I already know Quinn has an alibi. He was in Boise, Idaho that night. So police are going to say, we know Quinn was in Boise. But I was talking this through with you the other day. Here's the thing that people, I don't say this often, but let's go through the logic idea that Quinn was actually involved in the events that night, and that Quinn wanted to establish an alibi. According to the official story, Dylan was out partying and called her boyfriend Quinn, who was also out partying in Boise, Idaho, with another girl. And the two of them talked to Dylan from some bar out and about when they were in Boise. And I said, what if Quinn was actually in Moscow and his phone is in Boise, Idaho, with a girl who calls and places a call to Dylan to establish the alibi that Quinn's phone is in Boise, Idaho, 5 hours away, when really he's right in Moscow, Idaho. So I don't talk about that much, but if you were going to go down, if you're going to play devil's advocates that Quinn was involved and he has an alibi because he's in Boise, the only reason we know he's in Boise is because Dylan supposedly called him in Boise. What if she called his phone in Boise, but Quinn was not in Boise?
I agree with that. And see, this is why I get so worked up and defensive when I put out a theory. This theory, DA, newsflash, for people that are trying to say that this doesn't make any sense, do you understand everything that you're saying happened and doesn't make sense? You do understand all of that still happened. You understand that your theory of what physically happened could still be true. This is just saying, doing simple math puts it in a different time zone. For God's sakes, this is like maybe one of the most straightforward anybody's theories. Think about what you think happened and see if this lines up with your thing. You know, that's my whole point, is I'm not saying that I'm speculating on Dylan being in the truck for text messages. That's it. Other than that, though, I'm just doing math on their timestamps. So like I don't know how to explain that other than it's not saying that what you guys are saying, like why nobody's surprised. What about Murphy in the laundry room? What about this? What about that? They went through the sliding door. This guy's theory is better. Like, I'm just saying this is the window that I think it makes sense given the fact that you have a mother saying 2 a.m.'s a dark hour. You have rumors about a gunshot. You have nobody surprised in the morning after an 8-hour delay. That doesn't make any sense. People say Dylan and Bethany might not have been there. Well, what if Dylan did, or what if what if Dylan did leave?
Dylan.
Bethany, and then what if Bethany got the hell out of there after? Then they both weren't there. Right? Like, that's my whole point is people get so worked up on these little things. This should be able to apply to anybody's working theory. I'm just trying to say, what if this was the time it happened? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and somebody's pissed at me. Maybe more than one person's pissed at me for cutting you off in the middle of your timeline. So if you had a bunch of the timeline left to go, you better show it because everybody's. I've had people lighting me up like, "How about DA? You let him fucking finish his timeline." And I'm like, I thought we were kind of, but sorry.
Well, here's the last part of it. Here's the last part of it. So real quick, messages don't make the most sense. This isn't even a conspiracy. This is simple math. It's simple math. It is a delta doubled. That's it. And then listen with your own damn ears on Linda Lane at 156. And within freaking 25 minutes, all of this is going down. And then it goes, Bethany, I'm not kidding. I'm so freaked out. That's really 2:08. That's 12 minutes later. Bethany texts back, so am I. DM says, my phone's going to die. Maybe because she got the hell out of there. She doesn't have a charger. Bethany says, come to my room, not knowing that Dylan left. BF says, run down here. Well, isn't that funny? Do we have any confirmation that DM even went to Bethany's room? Genuinely. No, because DM then goes and tries to call Ethan and then texts Bethany, I'm screwed though. Bethany got the hell out of Dodge and never answered a question and fought the subpoena because she knew that Dylan ended up not being there and left early. Dylan was given immunity because of Quinn, her boyfriend's connections to the area Knights. I give a shit. And that's my theory on that. Because we talked about how does Dylan able to get away with saying this shit? And I think the simplest answer might be she's protected. She was given immunity, whatever it might be. But here's another thing. This is the problem with, it's the best thing and the worst thing about doing lives. People in the chat, they're not caught up to the lives. It's hard to not get distracted about the chat. If you ignore the chat, people say you ignore the chat. If you're too into the chat, it's like, hurry up, get to the point. Okay. This is simple math. Simple math. And I wish I could tell people that I'm not discrediting the Banfield. I'm not saying that it wasn't this person involved. I'm just trying to line up camera times. That's it. That's it. So like your theory, it could still hold weight. Just take whatever time you thought something went down and try to apply this and tell me if this makes more sense, is my theory. And if it's debunked, okay. Oh, good one. You got me. I mean, the official story's debunked, I think, at this point. So I don't know. Are you flustered, DA?
I'm flustered because the comments. Do you know how many comments I see in your comments saying, go watch Pov's video, he's got it figured out again? Fuck! Like, I like Pov, but if I hear one more time, you guys can stop doing your YouTube channels. Pavarotti's got it solved again today. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to have an aneurysm. So I was just watching, and other people, there's like several comments over here like, go watch Pov's video, he's got this all figured out. I'm like, I've been hearing that for a solid year now. Every day, it's like, DA, stop. You can shut your channel down. Pavarotti's already solved the case. Anyways, I rant about that too often, but I was laughing. It's just scrolling. Everybody's talking about Pav. Pav's got it figured out. He got a video today. He solved it today. So okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get that because like I see that shit a lot too. I don't know. I think like my only comment to that is like to them, like this isn't, it's not against Pav, it's not against anybody that puts out any other theory. But what I'm saying is like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, there's still speculation in that theory. I actually had a chance to watch that today, and you know, like his timeline that Pav is saying, right? Like if you're going off of the written times, if you're going to take that at factual and having the okay, but at the same time, in that same breath, I think even he would acknowledge like he's speculating that two people went around the back, they cupped their hand and they lifted him up to the second floor, and then they went through the sliding door. Like I think even we all have to understand there's a that, and what that is that's like intuition. That's how investigators do stuff. So,
Right.
but that's a part of it.
Yeah.
Right. You're piecing together what you know, and then you're piecing together how you think it happened. So it's all still at the end of the day. Like I think again, I never actually talked to Pav, but I would say this. I would bet he would say, well, yeah, that's just like kind of this human instinct of like, how would you do that? Well, how could this work out?
And to be fair, like I've said it a million times, I have no problem with Pavarotti. What sometimes I have problems with his fans, because his fans are really rude to other people, telling everybody else that they should stop talking about the case because Pavarotti is the only one who has the truth. And that's not necessarily coming from Pav himself. Pav's even softened a little bit recently and said, hey, maybe he's been a little too harsh on other creators, kind of thing. But anyways, the point being is that I just want to reiterate for the millionth time, there's no beef between myself and probably not Birdie either, and Pavarotti. And we like that there's other ideas and other thoughts out there, but I wish people would just hold off on the whole, everybody can just shut the hell up because Pavarotti is the only person you need to watch thing. And how rude is it to come into Birdie's live and tell everybody that quit watching Birdie, you can go watch Pav because he's got it all solved. Like, it's just rude.
Dude, I don't know. That like, I'm not here to get on a soapbox and talk about myself, but I will say, outside of anybody that has like blatantly come at me, I've only promoted other people. I've shown their stuff partially so that they then, if you want to finish it, go watch it on their channel, get them credit too for their hard work on their channel. Yeah. And it's like,
for sure.
My channel is called The Hive Mind. It is everyone thinking together. So it's always been a little bit odd to me that people have such a problem with this contrarian thinking stream. You know what I mean? It's just weird to me. Like I'm telling you exactly.
Especially since you start every show with this is a contrarian thinking show. If you don't like to think outside the box, you're not in the right place. Like you say that at the beginning of every show.
And then what do people say to me? This is all conspiracy. I go, I fucking start my show that way.
Right.
You know, it makes no sense. But anyways, no, dude, great show tonight, guys. Tomorrow night I got Phoenix Talks. On Wednesday I got the Custody Queens with Ron, the appellate attorney. Thursday Sherlock's going to be in the Hive, and we are going to be talking the Delta theory. So give me the next couple of days to really dial this in. Like I said, I got clips and stuff that I'm putting together. Hear me out. Give me a chance. I'll be the first one to debunk this theory if I think it's a waste of my time. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like I've done enough theories where I'm like, that's garbage.
I play devil's advocates with my own theories all the time. I'll say, here's where my theory breaks down. Like I'll tell you sometimes in the same sentence of talking my theory out about where my theory has a hole in it. So yeah, I'll do that. And if you don't mind, I wanted to plug a few things that I've got going on as well, because I got crazy shit going on. Again, as a reminder, I've got brand new footage, never seen before footage of a daytime drive at Moscow, Idaho that I just did with my wife. By the way, we're on the grub truck footage. My wife and I are getting mac and cheese from the grub truck at 10:04 p.m. on Saturday night. You can catch us on the Twitch feed there. But on top of that, I got never seen before footage. I'm going to do a recorded show with the Custody Queens, which has been on Birdie's show before. And they're going to come on. We're going to show that footage with them, and we're going to do a live reaction with them, recorded. Well, not live, I guess. We're going to record their reaction, seeing it for the first time with me. Then we're going to air that Wednesday morning. So look forward to that if you like it. And I know a lot of people aren't following this case yet, but the Long Island serial killer case, holy shit. I just got some new documents, new breaking legal documents filed in the Long Island serial case against Peter Hackett in relation to the disappearance of Shannon Gilbert, a case that, there's no statute of limitations on murder. And so they ruled it as an accidental death. And if she was murdered, that case is still ongoing. going, and there's some new breaking shit that I'm going to share that is huge. And I'm going to have that out tomorrow morning, I think. So anyways, thanks for giving me the chance to plug some of the shit I've got going on.
No, I appreciate it, man. And thank you for popping up. You know, I know the last couple of weeks have been super guest heavy for the Hive, which has been fun. It's been great. It's a good switch up after kind of going solo for a while. But I will say that, like, after this week, you know, I'm torn because I can't, and this is not about you or anybody, but it's like, you can't have a guest on and you can't do a working theory with all this math and delta without visuals, right? Like, that's kind of what you were saying. You have to have visuals so that people can wrap their head around it. And I think that after my time with Sherlock on Thursday, I'm going to really, really dial in, like, and just see, does this line up? Because we can't say that this part of the footage is manipulated, but this other part isn't. You can't say that in the same breath, because how do you know?
Yeah.
Oh, off the timestamp. Again, wouldn't it be way easier to just press a different number on black and white on a keyboard than it would be to get, I don't know. So, and then every time that the people that are being interviewed that were at the house have to bring up a time, they look at their phone. Like, I don't know. It just is odd to me, but I love you guys. DA, I love you. Thank you, brother, for popping on up, and I will talk to you next Monday. Cheers.
Later.
Yep.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.